Hotep, everybody. This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network and host of the African History Network show. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, and we are live. This is the first show of the new year. We have a special edition of the African History Network show for you today. I wanted to broadcast on Sunday and Monday, but I was really busy and wasn't able to do it. So we're going to get to these topics today. And, you know, I broadcasted a week or so ago and had Johanna LeBlanc on, and we talked about President Joe Biden's trip to Angola. We did that Sunday before last. So that was December 29th, if I remember correctly. And there were other topics I wanted to get to, but we weren't able to get to those topics. So we're going to do that today. All right. So first topic we're going to talk about is the HBCU marching band at Michigan Valley State. They have been asked to perform at the Trump inauguration on January 20th, 2025. And this has drawn a lot of backlash because they are trying to raise $350,000 to go perform at the Trump inauguration. Black Enterprise has an article on this. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered when Dr. Greg Carr hosted on December 27th, 2024. I'm going to show you that clip. Also, District Attorney Fani Willis in Georgia was removed from the Georgia election case. But why? What's the real conflict of interest? We're going to talk about that as well. And we know January 6th just passed. We know that the election results were certified. The presidential election results were certified. But there was a lot of remembering, and there was a lot of coverage on January 6, 2021, the insurrection that Donald Trump incited. But the GOP has collective amnesia or selective amnesia when it comes to what happened on January 6, 2021. We're going to talk about that. There was a good segment from Ayman Mohadeen's show on MSNBC this past weekend when civil rights attorney Charles Coleman hosted. I'm going to share that with you. Also, a judge holds Rudy Giuliani in contempt for failing to turn over property to two African-American Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. So we're going to give you an update on that. And this is involving the $148 million civil judgment, defamation judgment that they won against Rudy Giuliani. And we talked about this also on Roland Martin Unfiltered back in December of 2023. And I was guest hosting Roland Martin Unfiltered on that day, and I'm going to reshare that segment with you when we originally talked about the $148 million judgment. Okay, so we'll discuss that as well. Lastly, did you see on January 3rd, you had the swearing in of the 119th Congress, the swearing in of the new Senate, U.S. Senate. And Vice President Kamala Harris swore in each one of these senators. Well, Deb Fischer, Republican senator from Nebraska, was sworn in, and her husband snubbed Vice President Kamala Harris when she tried to shake his hand. We're going to show you what happened, and I'm going to share my comments regarding that as well. More and more people are talking about this. New York Times just published a story about this as well. And then you have MAGA, Make America Gag Again, or as Donald Trump says, Make America Great Again. You have some MAGA people online trying to make excuses for this old white man snubbing a handshake from Vice President Kamala Harris. We're going to deal with this and more on today's edition of the African History Network show. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with history, economics, politics, economic empowerment, law, health issues, sex, much, much more. Okay, post your comments here. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to jump into this first story. So we talked about this on December 27th, 2024, second day of Kwanzaa, Kuji Chagalia, self-determination, on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And this deals with the Mississippi State Valley University marching band. Okay, there's a story here from their website. MVSU Mean Green Marching Machine invited to perform at the 60th presidential inauguration. Okay. And normally this would probably be an honor to be asked to perform at a presidential inauguration, but not for this president. Okay. So very briefly here, the celebrated Mean Green Marching Machine, the Mean Green Marching Machine, marching band from Mississippi Valley State University, MVSU, has received an invitation to participate in the 60th presidential inauguration parade in Washington, D.C. on January 20th, 2025. This historic invitation highlights the band's legacy of excellence and cultural significance, showcasing the university and Mississippi's rich heritage globally. Okay, now the problem is that they are trying to raise approximately $350,000. The total cost of this historic trip, including travel, accommodations, meals, equipment, is approximately $350,000. Mississippi Valley State University is committed to ensuring that every student can participate regardless of financial circumstances. The university asks alums, supporters, and the community to support this monumental endeavor. Now, it's also important to note that MVSU marching band, in 1965, the band became the first historically Black college or ensemble to march in the Tournament of Roses parade. They returned to Pasadena in 1968 and performed in President Richard Nixon's inaugural parade on January 20th, 1969. I don't think that aged well, that decision. Richard Nixon was an anti-Black president. Okay. And he ran on the platform of law and order, and he ran on the platform as a backlash to the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement and the rebellions that were taking place in the inner cities across the country, rebelling against white supremacy and racism. Now, these milestones reflect the band's enduring legacy as cultural ambassadors for Mississippi and the HBCU community. Okay. Now, this drew a lot of backlash because they're trying to raise $350,000 to perform at the inauguration of Donald Trump, who ran on an anti-Black platform and is a white supremacist and a bigot. Okay. Now, we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So I want to go to that clip here because I went in and broke things down.
NBA games, the Rose Bowl parade.
Yeah, let me
The
run that
Mississippi
back.
Valley State University's marching band got invited to perform, let's hold on to our seats, at the upcoming presidential inauguration. The band, the Mean Green Marching Machine, will perform apparently at the 60th presidential inauguration parade in Washington, D.C. on January 20th. And of course, the Delta Devil Band has played on several stages, big stages over the years, including NBA games, the Rose Bowl parade, the New Orleans Mardi Gras parades. They don't play down there in Louisiana, and the National Show Band Battle of the Bands. You know, it's become a big thing, particularly in recent years. The band is apparently soliciting, in fact, I did see that, the band is soliciting donations to make this opportunity possible for students. But is this a good thing? Let's talk about this, brothers. Matt, good thing, bad thing? Any thoughts about the Mean Green Marching Machine being invited to come up to DC and march in the Trump inauguration parade?
It's a bittersweet thing because, of course, what college kid doesn't want the opportunity to perform for the president? The problem is it's going to be this president. That's the bad part about it. But it sounds like it's a great opportunity for them, for the school, and I hope, despite the person in the White House, they're able to really revel in the honor of being, asked to perform in an inaugural parade. But again, I wouldn't want to do it for this guy. So that's the bittersweet part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mike, what you think, brother?
The hell is this? It'd be like performing at a Klan rally. That's not, I mean, honor, I mean, okay, yeah, if it was just to be invited to perform for a president in the inauguration, but this is an anti-Black president who's gone on record referring to nations like Haiti as S-hole countries, who spread lies about Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio, who says he's going to unleash the police, who brought back the federal death penalty the last 6 months he was in office and executed 13 people, including 5 Black people. I mean, it'd be like performing at a Klan rally. I mean, I guess you could tell your children about it, but why would you do it? I mean, no. 2025, I mean, all opportunities are not good opportunities. I'm sorry.
All money, not good money, huh, Mike?
No.
I tell you what, though, it's interesting. As y'all were talking, I was thinking about it. And you're right. I mean, they're raising money. It is an opportunity, as you say, Matt, to do something. But as you say, Mike, of course, the question is, why were they invited? Why Mississippi? Are you trying to make a point? We all remember Ronald Reagan launching his damn presidential campaign from Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
These underlying tones. But what do y'all think about this? And I was just thinking about it as we were talking. They're coming up for the parade. So obviously that involves travel and logistics and lodging. What if, I remember when the Warriors, Golden State Warriors came up and they won the championship. And the good brother David West, who was on the team at the time, they had to go to the White House, of course. And that was, fraught with all kind of tensions at the time. But David West came up and stayed a little over and came by Howard because he's a big supporter of Yosef Ben Yakin, and he's a big, African-centered guy. He came on Howard's campus and came to my class and sat, and I said, well, is that David West? What you doing here, man? Hey, man, we had to come up here, but I wanted to come over here and spend some time. And so he ended up talking with the class. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm saying that as a prelude to this. I want to ask y'all about this. What if the Symphony of Soul, which is the marching band at the great Bowie State University, the magnificent marching machine of the great Morgan State University, the national treasure as they are called, the Showtime marching band at Howard, and the Thundering Hawks at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I'm just thinking about the closest bands in the area. What if they got together and maybe welcomed the Mean Green Marching Machine either the day before, or maybe they stay overnight and maybe do something together to kind of wash that taste out of their mouth? I don't know if that would be, I don't know. I mean, yeah, could this be nuanced, or could it be surrounded in a way to kind of say, okay, this is an opportunity, but maybe they do it at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I don't know, but anyway, what y'all think?
Well, the day of the inauguration is the same day as the celebration of Dr. King Day. And there's going to be a big celebration in Washington, D.C. as well. So maybe the I don't know, but the organizers of the Dr. King Day celebrations need to reach out to them and have them come perform, because it's like, look, what are you celebrating? Okay, yeah, you go perform, but why? What are you celebrating? Have you read Project 2025? Have you read Trump's policies? They're anti-DEI, anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want to close the Department of Education. What in the hell? Why? Go talk to Chrisette Michele, okay? Chrisette Michele damn near lost her career when she performed at the inauguration in 2017. Her managers told her, don't do it. She thought it would bring about a healing to the country for her to perform. I don't know why. Roland Martin interviewed her. She made no damn sense in the interview. Love Chrisette Michele, okay? Love Chrisette Michele. Go talk to her. I mean, why? Come on.
Matt, what do you think about that, brother? Is it possible, and Mike has kind of laid this out a little, since it is the King holiday celebration, might it be possible for Valley to fold in some other things, and maybe while they're marching through right quick for a parade, make this about something else? Or are they, as Mike says, running the risk of perhaps being known for something they don't want to be known for?
Well, I'm glad you asked it that way, Doc. Mike is right, and I'm wrong about this. This is not an opportunity you take the more I think about it. I think he's correct. I think there are a lot of things they can do to try to salvage it, but there have been so many statements by this Trump White House and by Mr. Trump in seeking the White House again that I think he's right. I don't know that they would be canceled by like Chrisette Michelle's, obviously apples to oranges with her being an individual artist and this being the band. But, there is precedent for people saying, I am not coming to the White House to, celebrate because I don't stand with your ideology. And I think you're right. I think was probably a little short-sighted. I think it's, quote, an opportunity, but when you go do something for them, right? I mean, and that. So I think there are a lot of ways they could make it good. They could come by Howard. It would be great for them to come by and have like a battle of the bands at Howard at the football stadium. I mean, that would be dope. But
that's a great idea, man.
Right. Hey, Greg.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
The Mississippi State Valley Band. Go talk to Benny Thompson. Go talk to Representative Benny Thompson from Mississippi, who headed up the January 6th committee. Okay?
Well,
and filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and others using the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, filed a civil lawsuit, right? Because of statements, derogatory statements they made against Benny Thompson and others. Don't forget Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman.
Do you have a car? And do you have a clean driving record? Did you know you could pay as low as $19?
Okay. Yeah. How against Benny Thompson and others. Don't forget Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman. Okay. Yeah. How he put their lives in jeopardy with the lies they told. No, y'all need to rethink this.
Well, and on top of that, you're being used as a pawn because what everybody knows is what you said, right? So I think that's really what Michael put into focus for me, and I was a little short-sighted in my first answer because you've already told us you hate us. So the whole reason for you to call us is to say, I don't really hate them Negroes to say it the way I said I did the previous 200 times. So, you're playing into that. I do recognize that there will be some people who will be, like, man, this is the president of the United States. We have to take this opportunity. And I get that as a thought kind of in a vacuum. But when somebody tells you they hate you, take them at their word and don't go do something for them. So I think
it's true.
The more I think about it.
It's true. And Congressman Thompson, of course, he should be in those blanket pardons that Joe Biden should be giving out because otherwise they're going to be trying to put Benny Thompson in jail. Right.
And he said he'll accept one. He said he'll accept one. Yeah.
Oh, no, of course. I mean, Thompson is the marquee guy. It is Thompson versus. I mean, I think that's real. And that might even be part of the troll. I mean, y'all are bringing up some hella points on a Friday night, man. I think I love that idea, Matt. I mean, Green Stadium is right down the street, right up Georgia Avenue. If they did a battle of the bands with those four bands, Bowie and Morgan and Aaron, Maryland, Eastern Shore and Valley, I think it would send a hell of a message. And it's interesting because this might be the opening salvo of the conflict, of the real battle with the Trump administration. And wouldn't it be ironic that a little band out of the Mississippi Delta Valley, which has been known up to now for most people for Jerry Rice, might be known for either leading the resistance or bowing down. And God knows, I hope it's the former. So I share that feeling, Matt and Mike.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you helped.
All right, so that was from December 27th, 2024, second day of Kwanzaa, on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So we dealt with that story. Okay, now I want to go to, I mentioned Benny Thompson. We talked about Representative Benny Thompson saying he would take a pardon. We talked about that on Roland Martin Unfiltered as well. I want to, that was a couple of weeks ago. Candace Kelly was hosting, and we've been rebroadcasting that segment. Now, if we look here at, I want to show you this article here. This deals with the lawsuit that Representative Benny Thompson filed. Okay, and you got to bear with me. Restream changed their controls, where the controls are, and all of this. And I hate this new. The way they have things laid out. This makes it more complicated. Hold on, let me try to do the share screen. I'm going to show you this here. Okay, so this is an article from CNN. Leading House Democrat sues Donald Trump under a post-Civil War law for conspiracy to incite U.S. Capitol riot. Okay, this is about Representative Benny Thompson. And let's see here. Oh, hell. Just a second. Hold on. It should show the article. All right, right there. Okay, leading House Democrat sues Donald Trump under a post-Civil War law for conspiracy to incite U.S. Capitol riot. Now, this is from February 16th, 2021. In the article, it says former President Donald Trump and attorney Rudy Giuliani, disgraced attorney Rudy Giuliani, are being accused of conspiring with the far-right groups Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to incite the January 6, 2021 insurrection in a civil lawsuit filed Tuesday in federal court by the Democratic chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. That was Representative Benny Thompson. The suit cites a post-Civil War law designed to combat violence and intimidation by the Ku Klux Klan. That is the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871 that was passed by Congress, and it was used in October of 1871 by President Ulysses S. Grant to declare martial law in 9 counties in South Carolina to crack down on Ku Klux Klan activity because the Klan was attacking and killing Black elected officials, white Republican elected officials, and attacking especially African-American voters. The lawsuit filed by Mississippi Democratic Representative Benny Thompson in his personal capacity is the first civil action filed against the former president related to the attack at the U.S. Capitol, and comes days after the Senate acquitted Donald Trump in his impeachment trial. All right. So read the rest of this here. This is what this talks about. This deals with history. Okay. So I love it when you have these idiots on social media. When I deal with history and we post articles dealing with history, we air videos dealing with history, they say, oh, that's in the past. What does that have to do with today? While at the same time, you have Republicans in state legislatures passing laws to suppress the teaching of various parts of history, to suppress the teaching of the history of slavery, to suppress the teaching of the history of the civil rights movement and how it's taught. And also, you have Donald Trump, October 18th, 2024, when he was on Fox and Friends, he said that he would, one, dismantle the Department of Education, but also he said he would defund schools that teach about the history of slavery and teach that this was stolen land and slaves built this country on stolen land, etc. Okay, that can, I did a video about that. We have that airing here on the African History Network as well. But if we look at this article here from, I think this is from commondreams.com, commondreams.org. Okay, this is when Donald Trump was on Fox and Friends on October 18th, 2024, October 18th, 2024. Hold on, let me do the screen share. Okay, let's try to get this up. Okay, hold on. Let me see something here. Add scene. All right. He's not kidding. Advocates warn as Trump threatens to defund schools. Just a second. Where is that? Okay, he's not kidding. Advocates warn as Trump threatens to defund schools for teaching U.S. history. The Republican presidential nominee, and we know he won because of racism and sexism. Go watch my post analysis of the election. I was in Washington, D.C. The day after the election. And I was in Washington, D.C. on election night. And I was on Roland Martin's broadcast, election night broadcast. And then I did a broadcast from the hotel room before I flew out of DC. I did a broadcast dealing with what happened and why Vice President Kamala Harris lost. Okay, but if we look at this here, Donald Trump is threatening funding if teachers don't teach what he wants, said one teachers union leader. That's indoctrination and it's dangerous. This is from October 18th, 2024. He was asked, what would you do if one of these woke states teaches this new type of history? Brian Kilmeade asked this question. This new type of history that this country was built by slaves on stolen land. Okay. And he said that liberal city or state that schools would teach that the country was, quote, built off the backs of slaves on stolen land, and that curriculum, where is that? hold on. Let me show you. I'm going to play this.
Anything to do with school choice, also. Okay. But also, separate from school choice, we're going to take the Department of Education, close it. I'm going to close it. We'll have one person, could be you if you decide to retire.
Okay, Mr. President, here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would save half of our budget.
Okay.
So, first of all, Brian Kilmeade said we have this new history. Pay attention to what these people are saying. He said we have this new history that this country was built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. That's new history. That's called history. That's what happened. Donald Trump is saying if you have a city school district that teaches that type of history, he's saying his Department of Education would stop sending funding to that school district. And you voted for Trump because of the price of eggs? And you thought he was going to bring the price of groceries down? But when he was interviewed by Time Magazine right after the election, he said it's very hard to bring grocery prices down and they might not come down. Oh, really? So what was all that shit you was talking during the campaign? This is what I warn people about. Let me show you something. Let me show you this post that I did today. I ain't even between Adolf Hitler's rise to power and Donald Trump being reelected. Now, this is based upon history. This is not dealing with feelings, okay? This is based upon understanding history. And Americans are very ignorant of history and very ignorant of law and don't understand how the economy works. All right, let me go to this here. Just a second. I put this is on my Facebook page, but I also shared it. I think I shared it on Instagram. If not, I'm going to post it on my Instagram page also. Let's look at this here. I put this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my personal page, Michael Imhotep also. All right, so if we look at this here, let me scroll down. Oh, here's something else also. Let me show you this as well. I posted this also today. Okay, I posted this also today. Because Donald Trump is still saying the 2020 election was stolen. So you're saying that Democrats stole the election when they weren't in power, when they weren't in the White House, but they didn't steal the election when they were in power, when they did have the White House. So you're saying Democrats stole the election in 2020 when Trump was president, but they didn't steal the election in 2024 when Joe Biden was president to help Kamala Harris. That's how stupid these arguments are. But you're dealing with stupid people. Okay, now. This right here, who is that post? Oh, right here, dealing with Adolf Hitler. Okay, so I posted here. This is what I was warning people about in 2024 regarding the next petty tyrant want to be dictator. Study your history. I'm talking about Donald Trump. This deals with Adolf Hitler's rise to Nazi Germany. Yes, Adolf Hitler's rise to power in Germany was largely fueled by the devastating economic conditions in the country following the Great Depression. So Great Depression starts 1929, stock market crash, October 1929, stock market crash here in the US. Following the Great Depression, which left many Germans desperate for change and receptive to his promises of economic recovery and stability. Pay attention. Which left many Germans desperate for change and receptive to Adolf Hitler's promises of economic recovery and stability, even if his methods were extreme and ultimately destructive. This is considered a major factor in his election by the German people, because Adolf Hitler was elected into power. Read, let's see. So there's a couple of articles that I cited, and BBC has a good one also. But this one right here from the National World War II Museum.org. How did Adolf Hitler happen? How did Adolf Hitler happen? Okay. And in here, it talks about he ruled absolutely to his death by suicide in 1945. Upon achieving power, Hitler smashed the nation's democratic institutions and transformed Germany into a war state intent on conquering Europe for the benefit of the so-called Aryan race. His invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939, triggered the European phase of World War II, because that's when World War II begins with Adolf Hitler. Let me close this out. With Adolf Hitler invading Poland, okay, September 1st, 1939. Now, during the course of the war, Nazi military forces rounded up and executed 11 million victims they deemed inferior or undesirable, quote, life unworthy of life, among them Jews, Slavs, homosexuals, and Jehovah's Witnesses. He also killed Afro-Germans as well. He killed Afro-Germans and performed and sterilized Afro-Germans. So somewhere between 25,000 and 50,000 Afro-Germans he either killed or sterilized. Let me see. Point I want here. Right. Okay. Adolf Hitler's rise to power. He and other patriotic Germans were outraged and humiliated by the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles, which is the treaty that ended World War I in 1918. Let me see. Pain, the crushing. Let's see. Hitler, a mesmerizing public speaker, addressed political meetings in Munich, calling for a new German order to replace what he saw as an incompetent and inefficient democratic regime. This new order was distinguished by an authoritarian political system, based on a leadership structure in which authority flowed downward from a supreme national leader. Okay, so there's a part where they talk about economics. I can't find it. Oh, but the worldwide economic depression and the rising power of labor unions and communists convinced increasing numbers of Germans to turn to the Nazi Party. Okay. Now, you just had overwhelming support from the Biden-Harris administration for unions. The Biden-Harris administration took $36 billion from the American Rescue Plan and used that to prop up pension funds for 1 million auto employees, including at least 350,000 Teamster Union members. But the Teamster Union turns their back on Biden and Harris and doesn't endorse. And then the leader of the Teamster Union shows up to the Republican National Committee and speaks there, but doesn't speak at the Democratic National Committee, the Teamster Union. Now, Sean Fain of the UAW, he endorsed it, and we know the UAW endorsed VP Kamala Harris. Okay, but the Teamsters, they didn't endorse anybody. And this is after Biden-Harris, saved their pensions. The Nazis fed on bank failures and unemployment. Proof, Hitler said, of the ineffectiveness of democratic government. Hitler pledged to restore prosperity, create civil order by crushing industrial strikes and street demonstrations by communists and socialists, eliminate the influence of Jewish financiers, and make the fatherland once again a world power. Okay, so read the rest of this here. All right, this is at World War II Museum. This is from the National World War II Museum.org. And this is the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. How did Adolf Hitler happen? How did Adolf Hitler happen? And read the post that I did also, breaking this history down. Okay, now let's continue here. I want to go to this piece let's go to this article here from blackenterprise.com very quickly, and I got to move on to these other topics here. Okay, so blackenterprise.com also has an article dealing with the Mississippi State Valley University marching band. Okay, this one right here. Mississippi Valley State's band faces backlash over Trump inauguration invite while seeking donations for trip. And if we just look at this quickly here, the school is funds to travel according to WBLT. According to WBLT, the Mean Green Marching Machine will need to raise $350,000 to cover its expenses for the trip. Let me stop this ad from playing. Normally, a band's selection to perform at the inauguration of a president is an honor, normally, but the decision of the band to accept to perform for Trump has been criticized on social media. Now, on a social media post, Mississippi Valley State University on their X account says the MVSU Mean Green Marching Machine has been invited to Washington, D.C. for the 60th presidential inauguration parade. Help us raise $350,000 to make this historic moment a reality. And they post their GoFundMe link, all that stuff there, right? I'm still trying to figure out what it is that you're celebrating. So they have some social media responses in here also. Some people on social media Don Montgomery said, ask the governor of Mississippi or any of the Republicans in the state legislature if they can help get y'all there. Some people are saying, ask Candace Owens and Representative Byron Donalds from Florida. You know, Byron Donalds married to the white woman. Or ask Senator Tim Scott, the longest serving Black Republican senator, Senator Tim Scott, engaged to the white woman. Or ask John James, Black Republican congressman from Michigan, married to the white woman. Or Burgess Owens, Black Republican out of Utah, married to the white woman. Or Herschel Walker, who is just named U.S. ambassador to Bahamas by Trump, who likes white women, or you know, some of these Black Republicans. Ask some of them for the money. At Honey Bunches said, talk about shameful. I hope for your own good that y'all don't raise the money. I don't know what y'all are even thinking. That man is a blatant racist. So read this article here from blackenterprise.com. Mississippi Valley State's band faces backlash over Trump's inauguration invite while seeking donations for trip. This is from December 29, 2024. What a way to end the year. What a way to end the year with some nonsense like that. Okay, so we're going to go to the next story. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. Visit our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. And you can register for my online history classes there. We have a class right now on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, so that class right now is limited time only. It's on sale $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back, and the content is PG-13, so you can use it. This content with your children also. Okay, it's very visual. I don't do a lot of cursing, anything like that. You can download the lesson plan right here as well. We have a lesson plan. All the classes are laid out. We have over 200 slides in the class. Let's see, over 200 slides. We have 80 to 100 articles that we reference, 15 books. You don't have to buy any of the books to follow along in class. And also the video clips, excerpts of interviews I show you with some of our scholars, like Professor James Small, Professor Kaba Kamene, Tony Browder, Runoko Rashidi, and more. Click right here to download the lesson plan. You can watch a preview of the class right here as well. And we have our PayPal Cash App information here also. Our Cash App is $ the AHN show, SHOW. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. We have the link here. So when you click on it, it takes you to our QR code. All right. And let me post this here. We got that. Okay. You can post your comments here on the thread of the broadcast. We have our QR code up here for Cash App. So this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. Because it takes a lot to run the African History Network and finance it and do the research and pay for these services that I use as well. All right. Looking at some of your comments here. Let's see. Michelle Washington said they shouldn't do it. It is going to be a sad day for us. I agree. She also said it's a stupid idea. Okay, let's go to next topic. All right, here. Just a second here. Let me look. Okay. So District Attorney Fani Willis was removed from the Georgia election case. But why? Okay. Now, we're going to deal with two developments here in this case. So we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered with Dr. Greg Carr, December 27th, 2024. And let's go to that clip here. That's what we'll do first. I'm gonna go to that clip, then I'm gonna go to the articles. Because this is not following precedent. Removing her from the case is not following precedents or stare decisis, which means following existent precedents, existing law. Okay, hold on. Let me get past this ad.
Prior to appearances, wouldn't you? Maybe get Matt Gaetz to weigh in as well. That might not typically warrant such a removal. The Georgia Court of Appeals, 3 Republican judges, said in a 2-1 ruling that because of the romantic relationship Willis had with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, quote, this is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings. They did that with a straight face and tongues, hopefully firmly in cheek. But of course, you could hear the laughter as they did that. Willis's office immediately filed a notice of intent to ask the Georgia Supreme Court to review the decision. Finally, in this block, and we'll just read this and then ask you brothers to respond to any of the stories that we've just laid out. Federal authorities have charged a Missouri man for making racist threats of physical harm against employees of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in late 2023. 62-year-old Daryl Jaspering of Warrenton was indicted with 1 count of transmitting threatening communications and 1 count of interference with federally protected activities. For transmitting threatening communications, Jaspering faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and a fine up to $250,000. Wait, then we got one more in the block. I'm going to read this one so then we can think about this, man. It's a lot going on. And obviously, these people seem to be more and more out of control with this double standard. Let's go to Virginia with a federal jury there. A federal jury in Virginia convicted a prison lieutenant and nurse for ignoring an inmate's medical crisis that led to his death. Former Lieutenant Sharonda Covington and registered nurse Tanya Farley, both of Chesterfield, were on duty at the Federal Correctional Institution in Petersburg, Virginia, in January 2021, when a 47-year-old inmate began showing clear signs of a neurological emergency. Instead of getting help, Covington and Farley ignored the inmate's worsening conditions, leaving him to suffer blunt force trauma from repeated collisions with walls and other objects. Covington was found guilty of violating civil rights and faces up to 15 years in prison. Both she and Farley were also convicted of to federal investigators, a charge carrying a maximum 5-year sentence. A third employee, Lieutenant Michael Anderson, previously pled guilty to charges related to the case and is already serving a 3-year prison sentence. Covington and Farley will be sentenced in May 2025. Brothers, any thoughts about?
All right, let me do this. I want to go to the next. I want to advance further in that segment. removed her, saying that there's an appearance of impropriety. Didn't specifically state what the impropriety is. Yes, she had a relationship with Nathan Wade, but the relationship developed after he was brought on to the case, number one. Number two, I went back into my archives and looked at the article from 11alive.com out of Atlanta, Georgia, the news station out of Atlanta, Georgia. And they have an article, "No, it is not against Georgia law for a prosecutor to have a personal relationship with appointee." When you read this, it does not violate Georgia state law for them to be in a relationship. Okay. And this makes it pretty clear. Now, if there's some other thing, if there's something else, if they specifically targeted somebody to enrich themselves or something like that, but that's.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
Hold on, let me get past
this.
Okay,
you ready? All right, 100.
That's not the case here. And the defense, Michael Roman's defense, has not proven that's the case. They tried to throw that up, but that got shut down when Fani Willis testified that she paid Nathan Wade back for, the portion of the trips that he took her on, things like this. She paid him back for that. So this is them just trying to give Donald Trump an out and Donald Trump's cronies an out here. But this is not an appearance of impropriety, and they can't point to what the impropriety is. And last point, Michael Roman's defense team, there's a husband and wife team on the defense team raising the arguments against Fani Willis, and they're married. So come on.
You know, it's two sets of rules. I mean, you appear in courtrooms every day, Matt. I mean, you've seen some things, I'm sure, and anybody who's ever been around the courts in any way, if you've been there in any sustained moment, you know all the stuff that happens before the judge puts on the robe and comes out on the bench would shock most people who don't know anything about. So how are you reading this, brother?
Well, first I want to harken back to the last segment and say they some hoes. The Georgia Senate, they some hoes for this. And the reason is because, I hear the laughter in the back. I like that. Because we know the issue is dead. The issue is already dead. You've already had open testimony about this issue. And I'm glad that they at least gave her the carve out to say that the office can say what's privileged or what's not privileged. But this is purely political. This is only to drag her name through the mud and continue attacking her because the prosecution is over. And frankly, at this point, when you have a prosecutor or any lawyer that's involved in a case, they have work product. So the idea that they're going to go through and check her work on something where they've already made this decision is to me purely political, and it's stupid. That's why you're seeing all these self-serving statements about, oh, she needs to come and respond to the subpoenas. But they didn't say that to Trump's people when they were trying to give them subpoenas for January 6th and they were openly disregarding them, right? It seems like that should go both ways, but it obviously doesn't because it's purely political. Now, I also always appreciate the opportunity to say that Michael is longer in the tooth than I am, but I do know Greg Gumbel. I have to say that, every time it's necessary. But I do know Greg Gumbel. I know March Madness. And, it's really interesting that we watch somebody on TV like him for so long and we welcome them into our homes and we develop a relationship with them, right? We just get used to them giving us information, giving us insights, and we don't always think about the fact that they are human just like us, and one day we won't have them to continue enriching us. But I wish the best for him and his family, and rest in power to the brother. And thank you for keeping us entertained and giving us all the insights you did for the 50-year career that you had. But they are some hoes as it relates to Fani Willis. This is not necessary. We know that. This is purely to drag her name through the mud. So that's my thought.
No question. No question. It seems like the idea of contract labor for favors is becoming a theme on Friday night here, at least this Friday night. But yeah, they definitely are, man. We're at an interesting moment. All these ancestors, as you say, that awful day will surely come for all of us. That being said, we're going into uncharted territory. We have been here before, as we know, in terms of being African people in this country. It's going to look a little different this time, though, and it does have a little bit of a feel. You go from the civility of a Greg Gumbel, the kind of way they presented themselves to Gumbel Brothers and moving through the space, pushing back barriers. And then you got cats out here threatening the NAACP. You got people out here setting people on fire. There seems to be no guardrail. People are talking about guardrails. And I know as we get into the new year, we'll talk more about all of this, because there are going to be some unexpected just twists and turns, you know, to be consistent with the emerging theme tonight. I'm sure Trump and them think that when they get to the White House, it's going to be pimps up, hoes down. But I think they don't understand that there are no pimps. They ain't no pimps. They're shade tree politicians, just a rest haven for. Anyway, I'm not going to go on with the Mac quote. So let's take a pause here for a moment. Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll be right back here on the Black Star Network, and when we come back.
All right, so so we had a great show with Dr. Greg Carr of the Afro-American Studies Department at Howard University. Brilliant, brilliant brother. Okay, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a heart on this broadcast. You can post your comments here as well. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, I want to go to this article. Let's go to the first one here, dealing with Fani Willis. This is from the Associated Press. This is from apnews.com, December 19th, 2024, Thursday, December 19th, 2024. We're going to deal with two updates with Fani Willis, okay? So the first one was the decision from the State Appeals Court to remove her from the Georgia election case. That was the first one, and that's what I brought up in the segment that you just saw. Okay. Okay, so this article here from the Associated Press: prosecutor Fani Willis is removed from the Georgia election case against Trump and others. This is from December 19th, 2024. A state appeals court on Thursday removed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from the Georgia election interference case against Donald Trump and others. The latest legal victory for President-elect Trump, the 34-time convicted felon, the adjudicated sexual assaulter in criminal cases that once threatened his career and freedom. The case against Trump and more than a dozen others had already been stalled for months over an appeal related to a romantic relationship DA Fani Willis had with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, whom she had hired to lead the case. Citing an appearance of impropriety that might not typically warrant such a removal, a Georgia Court of Appeals said in a 2-1 ruling that this is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings. But they didn't say they didn't provide evidence of what the appearance of impropriety is. And it does not violate Georgia state law for two prosecutors on the same team to be in a relationship. But pursuing a criminal case against a sitting president is a virtual impossibility, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can read the rest of this. A grand jury in Atlanta indicted Trump and 18 others in August 2023. That was a RICO case, using the state's anti-racketeering law to accuse them of participating in a wide-ranging scheme to illegally try to overturn Trump's narrow 2020 presidential election loss to Democrat Joe Biden in Georgia. Remember, Donald Trump wanted 11,780 votes. He wanted them to find 11,780 votes. Now, the alleged scheme included Trump's call to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, urging him to find enough votes to beat Biden. 4 people have pled guilty in that case. Now, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade acknowledged the relationship, but said they did not begin dating until the spring of 2022. The allegations that Willis had improperly, let me go down further in the article here. The allegations that Fani Willis had improperly benefited from her romance with Nathan Wade resulted in a tumultuous couple of months in the case, as intimate details of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's personal lives were aired in court in February. A defendant's motion alleged that Willis and Wade were involved in an inappropriate romantic relationship, and that Willis paid Wade large sums for his work and then benefited when he paid for lavish vacations. Now, she testified that she paid him back, okay, for those vacations and what he spent on her. Willis and Wade acknowledged the relationship, but said that they did not begin dating until the spring of 2022. Nathan Wade was hired in November 2021, and their romance ended in the summer of 2023, they said. Okay. Now their romance ended before Trump was indicted. They also testified that they split travel and other costs roughly evenly, with Fani Willis often paying expenses or reimbursing Wade in cash. In a dissenting opinion, Judge Benjamin Land wrote that, quote, the law does not support the result reached by the majority, end quote. Trial court judges, he said, have broad discretion to impose a remedy to fit a situation, and the appeals court should respect that. Okay, now, so read the rest of this, and it talks about how in March 2024, Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee, who's the trial court judge, had ruled that no conflict of interest existed that should force Fani Willis off the case. Donald Trump and the others appealed the ruling. Scott McAfee wrote that the prosecution was, quote, encumbered by an appearance of impropriety. He said Willis could remain on the case only if Nathan Wade left the case. The special prosecutor submitted his resignation hours later. So check out that piece from the Associated Press. Okay, now, prosecutor Fani Willis removed from the Georgia election case against Trump and others. So that is from Thursday, December 19th, 2024. Okay, now, let's look at this other piece. This is from AP News also. Court rules Georgia lawmakers can subpoena Fani Willis for information related to her Trump case. Let me see. Do I have this link here? Yeah, okay. So this is from December 27th, 2024, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the segment on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Okay, court rules Georgia lawmakers can subpoena Fani Willis for information related to her Trump case. A judge has ruled that the Georgia State Senate can subpoena Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis as part of an inquiry into whether she has engaged in misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump, but is giving Willis the chance to contest whether lawmakers' demands are overly broad. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Shakura Ingram filed the order Monday telling Willis she has until January 13th, 2025 to submit arguments over whether the subpoenas seek legally shielded or confidential information. Ingram wrote that he would issue a final order later saying that Willis had to respond to, saying what Willis had to respond to. Fani Willis, though, wants the ruling overturned. Quote, "We believe the ruling is wrong and will appeal," former Governor Roy Barnes, who is representing Fani Willis in the case, wrote in an email to the Associated Press. Okay, so read the rest of this also. Court rules Georgia lawmakers can subpoena Fani Willis for information related to her Trump case. Now, the article I was referencing from 11alive.com, which is a TV station there in the Atlanta area, is this article here. No, it's not against Georgia law for a prosecutor to have a personal relationship with appointee. No, it's not against Georgia law for a prosecutor to have a personal relationship with appointee. This is from February 17th, 2024. February 17th, 2024. And in this piece here, if we look at this briefly, I want to go down to the question. The question, is it against Georgia law for a district attorney to have a personal relationship with an appointee? The answer, no, it is not against Georgia law for a district attorney to have a personal relationship with an appointee. According to Peter Skandalakis, the executive director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, there is no statute that states it is prohibited to have a relationship with an appointee. However, defense attorney Daryl Cohen, Cohen, believes that while Willis and Wade's relationship was not illegal, it may raise ethical questions. It is important to note that the hearing does not focus on the fact that the two had a romantic relationship. Instead, it centers around accusations made by the attorney for Trump co-defendant Michael Roman. Roman and 8 others seek to have Willis removed because they allege she financially benefited from the relationship. Okay. Now, you have 2 of Trump's attorneys who are married. But somehow that's not a problem. Trump attorney Ashley Merchant and her co-counsel husband, John Merchant. They're married. For the defense, somehow that's not an issue. The defendants, including, okay, so, quote, if she hired him strictly because they were dating and she takes advantage of the money he's being paid, that would not only be inappropriate, that would not only be inappropriate, but grounds for recusal. But that's not the case. They started dating months after he was hired. But the testimony at this point has been other than that. So we'll just have to wait and see. So read the rest of this piece here. It's not illegal, based upon Georgia state law, for a prosecutor or two prosecutors, a superior and a subordinate, to be in a relationship prosecuting somebody. So this appeals court ruling, they're just making something up. This appeals court ruling, they're just making something up. And if we look at this, I want to look at this opinion piece from MSNBC.com. In this opinion piece, this is written by Shan Wu, legal analyst and former prosecutor. Okay. Let's see. Name of this article, opinion, Fani Willis should not have been disqualified from prosecuting Trump in Georgia. And give me a minute, I have to pull this up. How's everybody doing today? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. You can also support the African History Network through Cash App or PayPal. Here's our Cash App QR code right here. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. So we definitely need your help. December and January are our two slowest months. All right, let me pull up this article here. This is from MSNBC.com. Is this the same one? Yeah, right here. Okay. I think they changed the title a little bit, but let's look at this. Okay, hold on. Let me flip over to this one. Okay, Fani Willis didn't deserve to be disqualified from prosecuting Trump in Georgia. Okay, this is from December 20th, 2024 by Shan Wu, legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. The disqualification of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis by a Georgia appeals court follows a seeming trend among conservative judges to respect stare decisis, the doctrine of following previous judicial decisions only when it suits them. Only when it suits them. The conservative supermajority of the U.S. Supreme Court leads the way notably with its June 2023 precedent flipping spree when in a matter of days it overturned some 200 years worth of precedent, including the near half century of precedent that evolved from Roe v. Wade. Now, whether it's a trickle down effect from the high court or just a shared love of untethered jurisprudence, the Georgia Circuit Court of Appeals displayed remarkable disrespect for both precedent and common sense in reversing trial judge Scott McAfee's decision and finding that DA Fani Willis and her entire office must be disqualified from the Georgia election interference case brought against Donald Trump and 8 co-defendants. There is no conflict of interest when two lawyers on the same team have a romantic relationship. They are already on the same side. Now, Trump and his co-defendants had initially asked Judge McAfee to dismiss the case entirely under the theory that an alleged romantic relationship between Fani Willis and another prosecutor, Nathan Wade, whom she had hired to work on the prosecution, prejudiced the case against the defendants. Trump attorney Ashley Merchant and her co-counsel husband, John Merchant, blithely put forth this argument with no apparent awareness of the hypocrisy of a husband and wife legal team, claiming prejudice arises from co-counsel being in a romantic relationship. Rather than quickly dispatching such a weak argument, Judge McAfee held a circus of a hearing lasting 4 days, F-O-U-R, 4 days, in which he and the country took a deep dive into Fani Willis' sex life, Nathan Wade's divorce proceedings, dinner dates, vacations, and who paid for what. All right, so read the rest of this piece here. Fani Willis didn't deserve to be disqualified from prosecuting Trump in Georgia. Okay, now I want to go to the next story. And you can post your comments here. Also, you can advertise with the African History Network, African American business owners. Post the name of your business here in the thread of the broadcast. You can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. And we'll let you know how to advertise with us. We'll put your 30-second and 60-second commercial in the rebroadcast of our shows and clips that I post on Facebook and YouTube, and all those excerpts, things of that nature. Email us at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com to advertise with the African History Network. All right, let's go to the next story. So January 6th just happened. And the Republicans are having selective amnesia when it comes to what happened on January 6th. Their recounting of what happened, things of this nature. Now, we just saw Vice President Kamala Harris. We just saw her preside over the certification of the election results, of the Electoral College votes. Okay, we just saw that happen on January 6th, and civil rights attorney Charles Coleman was on Eamon Mohadini's show on January 5th, 2025. Okay. And he did a really good analysis of the GOP's collective amnesia, and I say selective amnesia, on January 6th, 4 years later. I want to go to this clip. I want to show you this here. And then I'm going to show you statements from Vice President Kamala Harris after the certification process took place. Okay, let me cue this up. All right.
The 47th president.
As Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries addressed lawmakers and members of the 119th Congress on Friday, his acknowledgement of Donald Trump's presidential win had a telling reaction from GOP lawmakers.
2 months ago, the American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. Thank you for that very generous applause. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle.
Shout out Brooklyn. Tomorrow, on January 6th, Congress is set to formally certify Trump's win at the U.S. Capitol. And on the same day, in the same building where 4 years ago, a mob of insurrectionists attempted to take control and to overturn the election results by force. Now, in 2025, physical reminders of that day have largely faded. Inside the Capitol, you won't find scars on the walls from the thousands who converged on January 6th while waving Trump flags. There's no plaque or remembrance of the attack. Instead, we have videos like these, many of them which came from the rioters themselves. We have these images of protesters breaking windows and storming the halls of the Capitol, even trying to take over the House floor as lawmakers and their staff huddled for safety. And we have these chilling sounds, this terrifying chant targeting then Vice President Mike Pence. Multiple people died, both during and after the riot. More than 140 police officers were injured. Condemnations of the attack were swift and came from members of both parties. That night, we heard this from Senator Lindsey Graham, who had been a staunch ally of Trump since he won in 2016.
I hate it to end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see. All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
And then the next day, Trump himself even shared this video to social media.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
But soon there were these little and then these big shifts in the narrative around what actually happened on January 6th. of the recent trauma everyone in this country had just lived through. Some Republicans started floating the idea that the protesters at the Capitol weren't right-wing or even Trump supporters at all.
Now, there were likely not all Trump supporters, and there are some reports that Antifa sympathizers may have been sprinkled throughout the crowd.
I don't know if the reports are true, but the Washington Times has just reported some pretty compelling evidence from a facial recognition company showing that some of the people who breached the Capitol today were not Trump supporters. They were masquerading as Trump supporters and, in fact, were members of the violent terrorist group Antifa.
And then another theme emerged, downplaying the violence of the insurrection.
It was not an insurrection, and we cannot call it that and be truthful. If you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
With a straight face, a normal tourist visit. And finally, there was the transformation of the insurrectionists from lawbreakers to patriots and martyrs.
We will treat those people from January 6th fairly.
A bipartisan January 6th Select Committee was assembled to hold public hearings on the events of January 6th. Members presented even more documentation of the violent attack in an effort to ensure accountability and transparency. And Special Counsel Jack Smith was tasked with leading his own investigation of Trump's role in the attack. The Justice Department also took actions against the rioters. The DOJ has since charged more than 1,500 people with crimes stemming from the attack on the Capitol. But here's the thing. Despite the indisputable evidence, despite these detailed investigations and prosecutions, by 2022, an NBC News poll found that less than half of Americans considered Trump solely or mainly responsible for the January 6th attack. The full-throated GOP campaign to rewrite history largely worked. When Trump began campaigning again for a second term, there was a clear talking point repeated over and over again by anyone serious about joining his administration.
On the election of 2020, I've answered this question directly a million times. No, I think there are serious problems in 2020. So did Donald Trump lose the election? Not by the words that I would use.
If you're turning 65 or beyond, you're going
to
want to watch
hold
this.
on.
There are a lot of people today that are Medicare eligible that are enrolling in Advantage plans because of all the advertisements that give the impression that everything else.
It all went back to the big lie. Do you believe?
No, I think there are serious problems in 2020. So did Donald Trump lose the election? Not by the words that I would use.
It all went back to the big lie. Do you believe Donald Trump won the 2020 election or not? That was the barometer for getting into Trump's inner circle. It is a blatant erasure that we cannot stand to forget, as the new administration is just 15 days from taking power. Last month, President-elect Trump promised to pardon rioters in the first hour of his term. These are the same people who were already tried by the DOJ and convicted by the government. And Speaker Mike Johnson said House Republicans will set their sights on the January 6th committee itself for having the nerve, the audacity to investigate an attempted insurrection that happened in front of all of us in plain sight. In a new essay for the New York Times, Aquilino Gonell, a former sergeant in the Capitol Police, said he's still haunted by the events of that day, which pushed him to ultimately leave the force. He wrote, quote, "I resent the ongoing whitewashing of the barbarity and collective amnesia of right-wing politicians who aren't willing to hold Mr. Trump accountable. I can't bear to hear Republicans describe themselves as the law and order party." The hypocrisy here is by design, and it not only undermines the significance of the threats to democracy that were exposed that day, it also erases and minimizes a moment that looms over our entire political system. 4 years later, as Republicans would love for Americans to get on board with their historical rewrite, or at least move on from it, we cannot sit back and allow the continued normalization of the insurrection. Joining me now to discuss this is April Ryan, White House correspondent and Washington bureau chief at the Griot, as well as an MSNBC contributor and the author of Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem, and Ryan Wiggins, Chief of Staff for the Lincoln Project. Thank you both for being here to kick off the second hour of Amen. I want to start with you, April. Your response to some comments that President Biden made this afternoon to a reporter talking about the significance of January 6th tomorrow. He said, I think it should not be rewritten. I don't think it should be forgotten, but I don't think we should. If you noticed, I reached out to make sure there's a smooth transition. We got to get back to basic, normal transfer of power.
President Biden is president for the next few days, and he wants a smooth transition. He does not want the remnants of January 6th, the residue of January 6th, 4 years ago, to be a part of his legacy. You have to remember, okay, President Biden is trying to stay above the fray. But for those of us who work in Washington, those of us who were there or reporting on it, remember vividly. And you cannot negate January 6th, because January 6th was, in fact, an effort to keep Donald Trump in office and not let Joe Biden come in. If those persons who were rioting that day had done what they had planned, Charles, I don't even know if we would be in these seats right now. It would look different. It would smell different. It would taste different. This was not a tourist attraction tour, a visit of people with a picnic basket with those red and white checkered tablecloths skipping through the halls of Congress. These were people who had bear spray, who had bats, tens of thousands of people who had backpacks who could not make it through the Secret Service checkpoint because they had things in their bags, okay, when the president was speaking on the ellipse. But they moved on over to Capitol Hill. And President Trump watched it. He told them to ultimately, at the end of the day, to go home. And he even said this defiled democracy the day after. And now the switch. It's so interesting to hear the people who were running to safety, trying to run from these people who were going to do God knows what. People who erected a gallows for Mike Pence, the sitting vice president at the time, because he certified the votes against his own president or a new president. I don't know what more. I just think the president is trying to move on and keep peace. This president, Joe Biden, until January 20th.
Very difficult to manage doing that, but also keeping in mind an accurate depiction of history. And Ryan, speaking of that accurate depiction of history, I want to talk to you about some of the hypocrisy that we're seeing from the GOP. In a moment where you have actual January 6th rioters who have come to the light and said, you know what, I was duped. I was there. This was a mess. You still have Republicans and some lawmakers who are heralding them as heroes and patriots, even against their own narratives. These are folks who were there, who've been convicted and tried, who have said now, you know what, this was wrong and it should not have happened. How do you square that? And there are other narratives as well. Just we saw some of the switch and change in positions of other lawmakers, including Donald Trump. How do Republicans square that in a way that's reconcilable for anyone who's paying attention?
So, Charles, I'll tell you, I'm a Southerner, and Southerners know that football is religion, right? And so I think that you have a lot of these people who are actually looking at their politics like they look at their football team. Well, it doesn't matter if my team cheated this year. It doesn't matter if my team did this, as long as we get to the national championship football game, right? And I think that people have got to stop seeing something as vital as our government and the politics that operate within our government as something as silly as a team that you just can't turn your back on.
All right. So excellent segment from Eamon's show with Charles Coleman, civil rights attorney Charles Coleman. Okay, so I want to go to, let's look at this piece here quickly from Axios.com. Congress certifies Congress certifies the election. Congress certifies Trump's 2024 victory 4 years after Capitol riot or insurrection. That's what it really was, an insurrection, attempted insurrection. This is from January 6, 2025. 4 years after President Trump, 4 years after President-elect Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, Congress on Monday peacefully certified its 2024 victory, with Vice President Kamala Harris overseeing her own loss. The big picture, though the Electoral College certification proceeded peacefully, local law enforcement stepped up security around the U.S. Capitol out of an abundance of caution. Donald Trump has repeatedly said pardoning the January 6, 2021 insurrectionists or rioters is something he will consider on his first day back in the Oval Office. Many prominent Republicans have followed Trump's lead in the 4 years since the attack to downplay the violence of the day, even though most of them were scared for their lives when the insurrectionists were storming the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. Now, Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, who was present on Monday's certification, won the election with 312 Electoral College votes to Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota's 226 votes. The whole count took roughly 30 minutes. Okay, so read the rest of this piece here, recapping what happened. This is Congress certifies Trump's 2024 victory 4 years after Capitol riot. Now, here's VP Harris talking about, I want to pull up this clip here. Okay, this is VP Harris after the Electoral College vote count certification. This is from January 6, 2025. Let's get past this ad. All right, let's go to this here. Just a second, let me flip over to this.
That the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person, their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand.
Let me back this up.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted, which is that one of the most important pillars of our democracy is that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And today, I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which included today performing my constitutional duties to ensure that the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person, their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
Okay. All right. So that happened January 6, 2024. Totally different from 2021 when Donald Trump lost and sent his domestic terrorist thugs to the U.S. Capitol to stop the certification process so he can stay in power. Now, News1.com has a good article that deals with a aspect of the January 6, 2021 insurrection that a lot of mainstream media is not talking about. And that is the racial animus, racial bias that was driving a lot of the animosity that caused these people to storm the U.S. Capitol and assault 140 police officers. Now, Republicans are supposed to be the people who love the police and back the blue and all this. As I've said before, they backed the blue until the coup. They backed the blue until the coup. That's what happened. Let me just flip over to this piece here. Okay, so this is from News1.com. The racist legacy of January 6th. The racist legacy of January 6th. Yes, Capitol rioters wanted to stop Joe Biden from being president, but the motivation was also largely rooted in anti-Black racism. Anti-Black racism. This is January 6, 2025. Because you have to remember, on January 5th, 2025, this was updated January 6, 2025. January 5th, 2021, that was a special election in Georgia, and Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, the two Democrats, beat the two Republicans, and then that gave those two Senate wins gave Democrats control of the Senate. The purpose of the so-called Stop the Steal rally was to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's presidential election based on the big lie that non-existent voter fraud played a role in victories over Donald Trump. Now, keep in mind, there were 62 lawsuits filed on behalf of Trump and his cronies. They filed 62 lawsuits. They lost 61 of the lawsuits. So any evidence they had of a stolen election, they had 61 opportunities to present that evidence. They lost. Okay? They didn't have evidence of a stolen election, all this nonsense that they were saying on Fox News. When it came time to present the evidence in court, they didn't have the evidence. They lied. And Donald Trump raised $250 million in 2 months after the 2021 election. He raised $250 million from his supporters by lying to his supporters, telling them that the election was stolen. When it came time to go to court 62 times and present the evidence, they lost 61 out of 62 times. And the one case that they won was in Philadelphia, And that just dealt with how close to election workers counting the votes could poll watchers be. When it came time to present the evidence of the stolen election, they didn't have any. And even judges that Donald Trump nominated ruled against him. Let's see here. Okay, so they talk about Georgia is largely credited with pushing Biden past the finish line, thanks in no small part to the devoted legion of Black organizers who mobilized voters across the state to cast their ballots against Trump, who also blamed Black election workers under false pretenses. This was the basis of energizing Trump's base to act on his behalf to avenge his loss in the most disingenuous of ways by blindly parroting the claim that he was cheated out of being reelected with the help of Black people. Okay, we know he lied on Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Trump and his team of MAGA enthusiasts continue to terrorize a pair of former Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, and were on the receiving end of a whopping $148 million judgment against Trump, former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani for his racist defamation campaign. All right, so read the rest of this piece here. So they talk about Harry Dunn, former Capitol Hill police officer Harry Dunn, who's African-American. He testified before Congress that rioters showered him with anti-Black racism as he attempted in vain to control the rabid crowd, etc. They called him the N-word, all types of things like this. Read this, the racist legacy of January 6th. This is at news1.com. Okay, now a lot of people have seen this video here. So January 3rd, 2025, you have the swearing in of U.S. senators, right? And Deb Fischer, U.S. senator from Nebraska, Republican, of course, she was there with her husband, and he snubbed VP Kamala Harris when she tried to shake his hand. I'm going to show you this. This is from C-SPAN, okay? And this video has gone viral. There's been a lot of talk about it. I know they talked about it on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I saw Reese Colbert, who's also on Roland's show, and you know we interviewed Reese here on the African History Network show. I saw Reese put out a video about it as well. Okay, let me cue this up here just a second. Add scene. All right, let's go to this.
Boom, baby. I'll show you the ropes, kid. Show you the ropes.
Get it.
You got to set 'em up.
There it is.
You got to set 'em up.
All the
reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter. So help you God.
Piece of tape on the ground, in the middle, scoot over a little. No.
It's okay, I won't bite. I'm gonna bite. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter. So help you God. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, sure.
Okay. That way just a little bit. There you go. Thank you so much. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Hold it. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so if you missed that, I'm going to play that again.
It's okay, I won't bite. I'm gonna bite. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter. So help you God. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, sure.
Okay. That way just a little bit. There you go. Thank you so much. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Hold it. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so that was Professor Bruce Fisher at the he teaches at the University of Nebraska, Professor Bruce Fisher, who snubbed VP Kamala Harris, wouldn't even look her in the eye. Now, you have people on social media trying to make excuses. He's either a bigot or a sexist or both, most likely. And if we look at this article here from the independent.co.uk, MAGA tries to defend Nebraska senator's husband after he refuses to shake hands with Harris. He had a cane. Now, he did have a cane in his right hand. He had the Bible in his left hand. But then there's a point where he puts his left hand in his pocket and is holding the cane with his right hand. So why didn't he change the hand that was holding the cane to shake VP Kamala Harris' hand? I bet you if that was Vice President J.D. Vance, I bet you he would shake J.D. Vance's hand. I bet you he would look him in the eye. So this is just blatant, downright disrespectful, shameful, disrespectful. He's being called a lot of things, and rightfully so. I want to go to this. Let's see, flip over to this article here. This is from the Independent. MAGA world tries to defend Nebraska senator's husband after he refuses to shake hands with Harris. He had a cane. VP Harris raised her eyebrows and shook off the snub with an uncomfortable smile. You saw that for a second. She had an uncomfortable smile, like, what's wrong with this guy? So when we look at this, so Republican Deb Fisher's husband, Bruce Fisher, was by her side while she was sworn in to her third term in the U.S. Senate by VP Harris on January 3rd, 2025. Okay, so we saw what happened when the vice president congratulated them both and extended her hand. Fisher's husband, who was holding a Bible in his left hand and a cane in his right hand, briefly glanced up at Harris and muttered, "Thank you." Okay, didn't appear that he even looked her in the eye. The senator took the Bible from him, freeing up his left hand, but instead he put it in his pocket and continued to look down. Harris raised her eyebrows and shook off the snub with an uncomfortable smile as the group posed for an awkward photo. Video of the snub has gone viral, with people noting the snub and Harris's reaction to being left hanging. And they have some screenshots here as well. So now you have MAGA trying to defend this nonsense, okay? Saying he was holding a cane and things like this. Well, why didn't he put the cane in his other hand? His left hand was free and he put his left hand in his pocket. So this is just people behaving badly, white supremacist bigots, or whatever their problem is, who lack common decency. That's what you're dealing with here. And I wonder who Bruce Fisher voted for president. I don't think he voted for Kamala Harris. I would bet money he voted for Donald Trump. So read this piece also here. MAGA World tries to defend Nebraska senator's husband after he refuses to shake hands with the vice president. But we know MAGA is a death cult. MAGA is a cult, and it's a death cult. Because the difference between a cult and a religion is, in a religion, your savior dies for you, but in a cult, you're asked to die for your savior. In a cult, you're asked to die for your savior. All right, so we have that story, and I think we have one last story. This is dealing with Rudy Giuliani. Oh, now also rawstory.com had an article. We posted this piece here from rawstory.com about the snub of Vice President Kamala Harris. Degenerate and sinister. GOP senator's husband trashed after snubbing Harris handshake. All I know is if you are an African-American college student and you're in Bruce Fisher's class, you need to transfer out of that class. I don't suggest taking any classes that he teaches. Degenerate and sinister. GOP senator's husband trashed after snubbing Harris handshake. January 6, 2025 by Sarah K. Burke for rawstory.com. So check out this piece here also. They have the clip in there as well. Get past these ads. Former White House aide Keith Boykin posted on Blue Sky, Republican Bruce Fisher, the husband of Nebraska Republican Senator Deb Fisher, refused to shake hands or even make eye contact with VP Kamala Harris during his wife's swearing-in ceremony. Quote, "This election was never about the economy. It was always about white supremacy," Keith Boykin said. All right, so read some of these comments here. Now, Joe Walsh, this is interesting. Former Republican Representative Joe Walsh of Illinois. Now, this was the guy during one of Obama's State of the Union addresses. This was the Republican that yelled out, "You lie." That was Joe Walsh. Okay, he's now anti-Trump. Well, I can't remember if he's still a Republican or if he left the Republican Party, but he's against Trump. He's been telling the truths about Republicans. Joe Walsh posted on social media, quote, "He also refused to look Kamala in the eye. Ugly, mean, cruel, intolerant, and cowardly. Trumpy behavior. Shame on you, Bruce Fisher, and MAGA world is applauding him. Pathetic. I'd rather once again applaud Kamala Harris, all class, grace, warmth, and decency. Thank you, VP." MSNBC contributor Brian Tyler Cohen said the level of class you can expect from MAGA, because they don't have any class. So check this out, this piece here from rawstory.com. Okay, lastly, I want to get to this article dealing with this story dealing with Rudy Giuliani. And we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered, one part of this. We talked about this back on December 15th, 2024. And Candace Kelly was hosting Roland Martin Unfiltered. And then we talked about this January 3rd as well. Let's see. January 3rd, 2020. We just talked about this Friday. Judge holds Rudy Giuliani in contempt for failing to turn over property to Georgia election workers. That's Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. So this is the latest development right here. And we just dealt with this Friday, January 3rd, 2025 on Roland Martin Unfiltered. If we look at this piece here quickly from abcnews.com. This deals with the latest development and Rudy Giuliani being held in contempt of court. Former federal prosecutor, former mayor of New York. He's been disbarred, disgraced, just dissed, and rightfully so. Judge holds Rudy Giuliani in contempt for failing to turn over property to 2 Georgia election workers. The ex-New York City mayor owes the 2 election workers nearly $150 million. A federal judge in New York on Monday, July 6th, held Rudy Giuliani in contempt of court for failing to turn over personal property and information to 2 Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. He was found to have defamed. Judge Lewis Lyman sided with Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who said Rudy Giuliani has not turned over a single dollar to satisfy the $148 million judgment against the former New York City mayor. Okay, they said he has not turned over a single dollar to satisfy the $148 million judgment. The election worker said Giuliani failed to relinquish a signed Joe DiMaggio shirt, signed Reggie Jackson picture, signed Yankee Stadium picture, or many of the various household goods or furnishings that he valued at $20,000, and which public photographs show he possessed in his New York apartment. Giuliani was found liable in 2023 for defaming Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss by falsely accusing them of tampering with the 2020 presidential vote in Georgia. Okay, he just lied. In a statement, Giuliani representative Ted Goodman said that attorneys, quote, might be happy to fight to take away Mayor Giuliani's most cherished personal belongings, including his signed baseball jersey of his childhood hero and his grandfather's pocket watch, but they can never take away his extraordinary record of public service. Yeah, you believe that if you want to. So let's go to this clip here. I want to go to this clip where we dealt with this on Friday. Now, on Friday, they were determining, the hearing was taking place to determine if he was in contempt of court. Okay. On Monday, January 6th, it was determined that he was in contempt of court. All right, let me cue this up here. Just give me a second here. I gotta cue this.
Rudy Giuliani was back in New York court today to determine whether he should be in contempt for ignoring court orders. The disgraced attorney was ordered to surrender a signed jersey from the late Yankees Hall of Famer Joe DiMaggio. The jersey was due 2 months ago, but has not been turned over. This was intended to help satisfy the $140 million defamation judgment awarded to Ruby Freeman and Wandrea Shea Moss. Attorneys are urging U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman to hold Giuliani in civil contempt for failing to surrender the jersey and other items as previously ordered. You know, what's really interesting about his day in court today, Matt, is that he thought that all of the questions that he was supposed to answer before coming there in preparation for this, he said they were abusive, that it invaded his privacy. That's the whole process. You defame someone, you owe money. We need to see what you own.
I think the term is run them pockets. I think that's how run them pockets, Giuliani. You know, what I thought was interesting about it was two things. The first is that, you know, there was an 11th hour filing where he was trying not to appear. And I think the judge put some stipulations on whether he could use deposition testimony and all of that in his appearance. But what I really was struck by is the ignorance, frankly, of the fact that he is still going on his radio show and, at least as the court has characterized it, defaming them, these two women. Now, I do think that there's an interesting constitutional question. You know, what are the bounds of the First Amendment? He does have a First Amendment right, notwithstanding this judgment. But for the life of me, I just absolutely cannot understand how his attorneys can allow this client, in the midst of bankruptcy, in the midst of trying to satisfy this judgment, to continue engaging in the conduct that got him to this place. It seems like this is the point where you just take that L, keep it pushing, run them pockets, and try to get back on the Donald Trump teat to get more, benefit going forward. He's digging a hole, and it's it's what he's wrought. So whatever a man sows, so shall he reap, and he is indeed reaping the pockets being run.
Yeah. I don't know if you've experienced this, Kelly. It's like a bill that you have to pay. You might even have the money, but you just don't want to pay it. This is what I see going on here. Just go ahead and give up what you have. He is a person, well, he used to be barred, but he knows what the law is all about. He is not, doing what he is supposed to do for money that he owes. I think if he doesn't watch out, he's going to find himself another defamation case, Kelly.
I think so, too. I think with to Matt's point about him continuously defaming these people, it's almost kind of cyclical, because he needs the money, so he goes on the show, but he's talking about the wrong shit, so he's going to have to use that money to keep paying these people. I say take everything. Take his dentures, take his glasses, take his drawers, take the ties, take his grandbaby stuff, take all of it. All of it. Wipe him clean. Listen, he effed around, he found out, like Matt said, take everything. Take his toupees, take his toothbrushes, take the toilet paper on the way out, take the stained glass in his house, take his baseball bats, take his baseball cards, take everything. What else can he take?
What else can he take? Michael,
toenail clippers if they're gold. I don't care. Take it all.
Take it all, Michael, until that bill is paid off. I think that's an interesting point that Kelly makes, in that Trump is president again. He might find himself being that true ally of Trump and finding himself in the back, in his good graces, if he would just shut his mouth.
I don't think he's going to be in his good graces. Trump still owes him for back legal fees also. So number one, keep in mind, Rudy Giuliani has not apologized for defaming Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. He continues to do it. He says he's done nothing wrong. Okay, so he continues to double down. He's trying to keep some Yankees World Series rings as well that are part of the sports memorabilia. Then also an autographed shirt by Joe DiMaggio. He's trying to keep that as well. So they should take everything. And I can't stress this enough. His lies that he spread about them put their lives in jeopardy. They had death threats. They had to leave their homes. Their lives have never been the same. So he should be standing there outside of his apartment like Red Fox was when the IRS came and he was standing outside his home in his underwear. That's what should happen to Rudy Giuliani. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. And it's this is somebody who ruined their lives. He's been disbarred as well. He can't practice law. This is somebody who ruined their lives because of his racism and because he hooked up with Donald Trump. And I have no sympathy for him. He messed around and found out. So hey, get all you can get from him.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer
All
from
right.
9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on most weekdays, I can show you one simple trade that could potentially bankroll your retirement.
You know what, Matt, let me end with you. I thought this was an interesting picker, that during the proceedings, he asked the court sketch artist to draw him a little more friendlier, because last time she drew him with a scowl and he looked like a dog. In the midst of all of this, he's worried about how he sketched him.
Take that drawing too. Take his shadow.
Well, I want to be clear.
Shadow.
We will give him a credit if he keeps his dentures and his toupee. We don't need all that. There is a bright line we will not cross. But that's vanity, and I think this is good. This is good insofar as it does show that there are consequences to actions, right? I mean, you can't upend people's lives with defamatory statements when you're a person of this stature, meaning just having the platform that Giuliani does. But they deserve the recompense, and he needs to go ahead and cough up that Joe DiMaggio, which I'm sure is hurting him as a New Yorker, a lifelong New Yorker. He's probably got that sequestered, hidden away somewhere, but he needs to run them pockets.
Yeah. You know, as a sports fan, how much that means to someone who is actually into sports. I think another good lesson out of this is this. If you say something, you cannot always say the First Amendment is going to protect me. That is why they have libel laws. What you write on social media, what you write in an email, what you text to someone could be brought up in a defamation case. I think that people need to be more aware of those laws because, you know, people out here on these streets saying anything and everything every day, posting for 8 hours. You should know your boundaries.
Yeah. Tastes like
all right.
Earl Prep natural.
Okay. So that was from Friday, January 3rd, 2025. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Candace Kelly was guest hosting. Now, you can read this article here from Associated Press. This is January 3rd, 2025, Friday. Rudy Giuliani insists he's not hiding assets at contempt hearing over $148 million judgment. Check this one out also, this article. Rudy Giuliani insists he's not hiding assets at contempt hearing over $148 million judgment. Read this one from the Associated Press. Okay, now I want to go to this last clip. Now, this was from December 15th, 2023. And this was the ruling in the defamation lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani. And I was guest hosting Roland Martin Unfiltered that day. Okay, and let me cue this up and get past this ad here. All right, let's go to this clip here. So this was when the judgment came in, December 15th, 2023. In the case of the two African-American female Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Hold on, let's flip over, do the screen share. All right.
A federal jury agreed that Rudy Giuliani should pay a pair of Georgia election workers he repeatedly and falsely accused of fraud $148 million in damages. After a 4-day trial, the 8-person jury awarded Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss, the multi-million-dollar judgment. The pair testified how Rudy Giuliani's lies supporting former President Donald Trump's bogus stolen racist and violent threats, turning their lives upside down. I want to go to one of my panelists today, Jesse Hamilton McCoy, clinical professor of law, supervising attorney, the Duke Law Civil Justice Clinic in Durham, North Carolina. Well, look, Attorney McCoy, I watched the verdict coverage on MSNBC today, and I was preparing for this show, and I was jumping for joy with this verdict of $148 million. This proves white supremacy does not pay. What is your legal analysis of this verdict?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for having me on.
I too was happy and jumping for joy because the depths of which Rudy Giuliani put these sisters through was ridiculous. As we all know, there was an attempt by Giuliani to try to say that they somehow sabotaged the voting process in Georgia, and as a result, led to the orchestration of several different white supremacist and Trump supporting groups and all sorts of things to basically threaten these women with death. I think, if I remember correctly, but lead to the point that they even had to relocate because of the threats and the FBI communicating to them that they were in serious danger. So we're dealing with people who have met every legal element of defamation. There's been a false statement that was published that destroyed their reputation in the community that they were in. We finally now are seeing them achieve at least the beginning stages of what should be recompense. And honestly, 148 million, that's not enough for all the stuff that Rudy Giuliani has put in.
Well, we know Rudy Giuliani is facing dire financial issues. He has his apartment, $6 million plus dollar apartment up for sale. We know that he owes back legal fees as well. And looking at the reporting from the New York Times, Judge Beryl A. Howell of the Federal District Court in Washington, D.C., had already ruled that Rudy Giuliani had defamed the two workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, two African-American women. And they both testified at the January 6th hearing as well. We heard their riveting testimony that brought tears to my eyes as well as the son of a Black mother who taught me to vote, and our father taught us to vote as well. The jury had been asked to decide only the amount of the damages. The jury awarded Ms. Freeman and Mr. Moss a combined $75 million. Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss a combined $75 million in punitive damages. It also ordered Rudy Giuliani to pay compensatory damages of $16.2 million to Ms. Freeman and $16.9 million to Ms. Moss, as well as $20 million to each of them for emotional suffering. So, attorney, can you explain to us and the viewers watching the difference between compensatory damages and punitive damages?
Absolutely. So compensatory damages are designed to what we call make the complainant whole. These are damages that you typically have already experienced out of pocket, which we are contrasting to punitive damages, which are additional damages that a judge can allow if they believe that the tortfeasor's act was of a particular instance to be increasingly reckless and done for malicious intent. And so as a result, what the judge is saying by issuing this kind of symphony of damages is that not only do we want to make these women whole again to the best extent that a court can, but they also want to make sure that Rudy Giuliani feels it in his pocket to know what he did was wrong. And I'd just like to add to this, I mean, we have to remember, too, that during the course of this trial, the defamation didn't stop with the actions before the trial. He actually went out in the trial in the press conference and continued to defame these women. So I think it's one of those situations where the judge is trying to exact every piece of an award that she can to ensure that these women are brought back and receive some kind of justice.
All right. Well, I want to bring to the discussion our second panelist today, a phenomenal woman in her own right, a fan favorite here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, political analyst out of National Harbor, Maryland. So, Avis, it's good to see you again. What did you make of today's verdict? And did you see Rudy Giuliani after the verdict was read outside the court trying to make excuses?
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is one of the 3 major credit score lies you're being.
Oh my God. First of all, it's great to see you in the host chair, my man. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you.
I have to say, I did see the clown show that he put on outside of the courthouse. And it is amazing to me how this man can be the coward that he is, not take the stand, not say anything in the courtroom to his own defense, but come out on the court steps and lie like a rug. Sit there and say, I wasn't able to present any evidence I can't wait until this gets to another court because this was a huge injustice. The man is lying. So though he wants to play towards the sort of fantasy world of the true believers in the Trump universe, the bottom line is the law of the land has ruled in the direction of the sisters that who he damaged, and he deserves this large ruling in their favor. He needs to pay every damn dime, or as much as they can get from him.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think they're going to get much from broke Rudy Giuliani. I don't think they're going to get much, but this proves that white supremacy does not pay. This proves there are consequences. I'm coming back to you here in just a minute, Attorney McCoy. But I saw Ruby Freeman preach a sermon outside of court today after the verdict was read. If anybody missed that, just Google Ruby Freeman and listen to the sermon that she preached. But she said today's a good day. Ms. Ruby Freeman told reporters after the jury delivered its determination, adding that no amount of money would give her and her daughter Shay Moss back what they lost to the abuse they suffered after Rudy Giuliani falsely accused them of manipulating the vote count. Now, for those that don't remember, don't follow the minutia of politics, Rudy Giuliani helped lead Donald Trump's effort to remain in office, basically overthrow the government. After his defeat in the 2020 election, he was defiant after the proceeding. He said, quote, "I don't regret a damn thing," end quote. He said outside of the courtroom, suggesting that he would appeal and that he stood by his assertions about these two African-American women. Attorney McCoy, there's a history of white supremacists intimidating African-Americans, attacking African-Americans. We look at the fall of Reconstruction with the Compromise of 1877, preceded by political violence to keep us from voting. Talk for a minute about the irony that these Georgia election workers helped to expose what Rudy Giuliani and others were doing. And there's a history of voter suppression against African Americans in Georgia. Keep in mind, Senate Bill 201 was the first Senate bill that passed the state legislature, signed into law by a governor, and that became a boilerplate for other, especially southern states, to do the same thing, pushing the big lie. Talk about that for a minute, please.
Well, one of the things that we have to kind of step back in time and remember is that for so long, Georgia had historically gone red. And what we saw in this election was that there was a sweeping change with the addition of other candidates who were congressional candidates, and with the push in trying to organize folks largely in the metropolitan areas. However, Georgia has done everything, including, and this is under the operation of, I believe, a Republican running their Board of Elections. They have done everything they can to prove to the world over and over and time again that their elections were above board. We've heard everything from the voicemails regarding leaving voicemails for the head of the Board of Elections to try to get him to change the voting process. We've heard intimidation tactics by members of Congress to people in Georgia. And we've heard Giuliani now go out and say that these two women specifically were responsible for somehow impacting the vote just because essentially they didn't like the result that the vote continued to uphold regardless of the number of recounts that were held in Georgia. So it is an opportunity from that position to try to diminish the voting power and intimidate minorities from going out to exercise their right. But at the same time, I'm glad that these two women were able to stand firm and that Georgia had enough safeguards to be able to show that their election was fair and above board.
Absolutely. And the control room is telling me that we have the comments from Lady Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Let's go to those comments, please.
Here is Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. It looks like they are going to make their way up to the mic here, Jeff. Okay, let's listen in.
Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss are going to give a brief statement, and they won't be taking any questions after. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shay Moss. I've spent 10 years as an election worker in Fulton County, Georgia. The lies Rudy Giuliani told about me and my mommy after the 2020 presidential election have changed our lives. and the past few years has been devastating. The flame that Giuliani lit with those lies and passed to so many others to keep that flame blazing changed every aspect of our lives. Our homes, our family, our work, our sense of safety, our mental health, and we're still working to rebuild. As we move forward and continue to seek justice, our greatest wish is that no one, no election worker or voter or school board member or anyone else ever experiences anything like what we went through. You all matter and you are all important. We hope no one ever has to fight so hard just to get your name back. We're very grateful to the jury for taking the time out of their busy lives to do their civic duty, to listen to everything that we've been going through. I know I won't be able to retire from my job with the county like my grandmother did, but I hope by us taking these steps, these very big steps towards justice, that I can make her just as proud. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Lady Ruby. Today's a good day. A jury stood witness to what Rudy Giuliani did to me and my daughter and held him accountable, and for that I'm thankful. Today is not the end of the road. We still have work to do. Rudy Giuliani was not the only one who spread lies about us, and others must be held accountable too. But that is tomorrow's work. For now, I want people to understand this. Money will never solve all of my problems. I can never move back into the house that I called home. I will always have to be careful about where I go and who I choose to share my name with. I miss my home, I miss my neighbors, and I miss my name. I've heard some of you. Don't be sad for me. Don't waste your time being angry at those who did this to me and my daughter. We are more than conquerors. Pray for us as we continue to fight the good fight of faith. I tell my attorneys often, my friends say that God knew who to give this assignment to, because if it had been them, they wouldn't have been able to go through this. God chose me to go through this because he knows that I would tell everyone whose path I cross about Jesus. I'm strong and my faith shall never waver. From day one, I said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
How to turn a chilly 50-degree room into a comfortable 73 degrees in 90 seconds. This jet engineer just discovered how to heat homes for almost zero cost.
If you remember one thing I say today, remember this. Faith is what carried us through the most difficult years of my life. And faith will carry you through hardships that you face in life. Understand that the devil is a liar. He is defeated, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Trust that God will keep and protect you. Believe that right makes might, because it does. I thank God that I'm not intimidated by no one or their lies. Give thanks that injustice always surrender in the glorious kingdom of God, and that he will always lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, peace that surpasses all understanding. Thank you.
All right. So like I said, Lady Ruby Freeman preached a sermon. Whatever religion you believe, the devil is a liar. Okay. And for all those that think your vote doesn't matter, why do white supremacists and many conservatives, Republicans work so hard to suppress our vote? We're going to wrap up this conversation. I want to get closing remarks very quickly here. First, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm so glad that this case was brought. I'm so glad that they got such a robust ruling. You're right. Rudy is broke as a skunk at the moment, but the bottom line is that whatever he has, they should have it now. And the bottom line is that they deserve it. They were terrorized by these people and they still live in fear. And so they deserve every last dime.
Absolutely. And Attorney McCoy, you have the last word on this subject.
Well, I just want people to understand that you don't have to just take it if people are going out here and trying to defame you. And I also want people to understand that the fight is not over. We're glad that we've achieved this result for these two sisters, but the fight is not over. And there's certainly a demographic of people out here who are still going to believe everything that Rudy Giuliani and people in that camp say.
Absolutely. And they have to be defeated at the ballot box.
All right. Let me flip over here. Okay, just a second. Okay, so that was from December 15th, 2023. And I was guest hosting Roland Martin Unfiltered. We talked about the verdict in the civil lawsuit and Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss being awarded $148 million. So Rudy against Rudy Giuliani. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Hopefully you learned a lot. Give us a thumbs up. Hopefully you learned a lot. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a heart. Give us a like on this broadcast. You can support us a few ways. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right on the homepage of the website has information about the online history class that I teach on Saturdays. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Next class, Saturday, January 11th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Scroll down, click right here to register here. The class is on sale $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. I've been teaching this class on and off since 2017. We have over 200 slides in the class, 80 to 100 articles, 15 book references, 15 books that we reference, I should say. You don't have to purchase any of the books. I'll show you the excerpts on the screen. Also, I'll show you video clips of interviews I've done with some of our scholars like Professor James Small, Professor Kaba Kamene, Dr. Linda Jeffries, Tony Browder, and others. So this content is PG-13. You can use this with your children also. It's not overly graphic. I don't do a lot of cursing, anything like that. Click right here to download our class lesson plan. So I have the lesson plans laid out for each class session. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Click right here for a preview of the class. You can support us through Cash App and PayPal. Here's our Cash App link. Right here in our QR code. Cash App is $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael, and it will probably show my picture there. These other ones here, there are about 5 fake African History Network Cash App accounts I've identified. So that's why I put ours here and our link for PayPal. Click right here to support us. So if you want to donate $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100, that definitely helps us do the research, pay the bills, finance the African History Network, pay for these services that I use. Just like right now, I'm broadcasting through Restream to Facebook and YouTube. So the program I have with Restream, that's $179 a month. That's with a 20% discount, by the way. And then also we have our, let's see, there's a QR code here for Cash App. Right now, not that one. Okay, this one right here. Here's our QR code for Cash App also. So you can support us there. $ the AHN show, SHOW. We have the link on the homepage of our website. If you type it into Cash App, type in the whole thing, because you have some other fake ones out here that are using variations of our tag. I'm still trying to get them shut down. All right. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Happy New Year. We know Kwanzaa is gone, has come and gone, but still, Harry's Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, and we have to practice the 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba throughout the year, not just the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Watch me on Fridays, Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'll be back on this Friday, 6 p.m. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and you can watch on Roland's Facebook page and his YouTube page as well. Talk to you next time. Peace.